can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm John Jellison. I'm in the Broadway company of Come From Away. I'm one of the standbys there.
How did you first hear about Come From Away, John?
Even before they started rehearsal, I did a reading of it with the creatives and Chris Ashley, the director. Just they just wanted to hear it, and that was the first day. We didn't do the whole thing. We came in the morning and we learned. I think we learned part of the Screechin' song, or maybe we even learned just the opening number. And then they just did the different scenes, and they just pointed to different actors. You play that, you play that. So that was the first time it was on my radar, and it was a little bit like the finished product that we know, but it was just really the sort of the beginnings of Come From Away, and that's when I first heard about it. And I thought it was absolutely delightful, but I never thought at that, what I saw, that it was a Broadway show. That just didn't occur to me. So then, of course, it became not only a Broadway show, but a very successful one.
When did you join the Broadway company of Come From Away?
I joined it just after they opened. They had we have 6 covers. We have 3 women and 3 men, and they'd only had 2 women and 2 men, and they really thought they really needed 2 more. I think they were correct to do that. So they hired myself and Julie Reiber, who is also one of the women. So at that point, then there were 6. There were 6 covers for Come From Away after that.
Which tracks do you cover?
I cover Claude, I cover Nick, I cover Oz, and I cover Bob.
What was your learning process like? It's memorizing the chair-ography, the harmonies, the accents.
Yeah. No, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's hard to perform it because it's really sort of like a freight train. Once it gets going, there's no getting off. There's no pausing for, if a line isn't coming, you better come up with something because the train keeps moving. And of course, there's a whole lot of choreography that, the audience really can't see because it has to do with patterns, the way you move a chair so you don't get in somebody's way, and then you're handing off props. And then on top of that, there are accents and things like that. So it's quite complicated. And to do 4, it's a little mind-boggling, but I'm past I got through the really, really difficult part of it. But it was about 6 months before I felt moderately comfortable in all 4 tracks. Because the part of the problem as a standby is you don't get to do it with the rest of the cast. So it's not as if I'm rehearsing with 12 people every night. It's so in rehearsals, we have to stop and we had to move the chairs and say, oh, well, you go over there, you go over there, you go over there. So it's a difficult thing to do, but we do it. That's all.
What is a hashed intensity, John?
I don't know that I would phrase it like that. There's a lot of musical phrasing that goes into it, and of course, if you've ever listened to Newfoundland music, there is kind of if they talk about harsh intensity, I suppose there are events in the play that are harsh and that are intense. Those people, what they're going through when they don't know what's going to happen, when they're on their bus, when they're on the plane, when no one's going on. And you can't really scream, so you're in terms of musically, you have to sing, but it has an intensity to it when and sometimes it's soft and it grows, and that's another thing about the specificity of Come From Away, having to do with the musical lines are very, very, very specific. It's difficult because when you're on stage, it's hard to hear other actors. Though you might think, oh yeah, we could hear each other very, very well. It's very, very difficult to feel as an ensemble singing. So you have to sort of memorize what it's like to sing with a group, and to do the different modulations in pitch and sound. So that's another one of the challenges of singing in a Come From Away.
What's the biggest challenge of being a standby in Come From Away?
Well, it's because it's all new when you go on, because you don't rehearse with the other people. You just have to trust that the words will be there, the blocking will be there, and it's always a new adventure when you go out. For instance, if I'm on for a week, if someone's on vacation, say, then by the second or third performance, I sort of ease into it, and but the first couple of times you go on, it's really a sort of a shock to the system. But it's also it keeps you going, so it's all doable, but it's curious. It's just curious. It's a curious feeling. It's sort of hard to explain, as you can see by the way I'm stammering, that it's a tough thing to try to explain what it's like. But it's a great feeling at the end when the audience erupts and you go, okay, well, I made it through. It must have been okay. So,
what's your favorite track and why?
I really love Claude, because it seems like it's his party in a sense. He begins, he ends the play, and he does the screech in a number. So he seems to be the host, so that's always fun. The other are all also fun. But for instance, Nick gets the girl. When you get to be my age and you get the girl, it's kind of fun. And Oz is he's a really funny guy in real life, and I think that character is really funny. And Bob, of course, is he's played by an African-American actor. So when I do it, I've done it a few times, and it's always really interesting because he's an interesting character and he has interesting things to say. So they all have their own, but my favorite would be to do Claude, I guess.
What is it like to return to performing after an 18 months pandemic shutdown?
Well, I wish I could explain it. For instance, I was on last night for Claude at the last moment. And it was the first time that I had said those words in 18 months. And there was actually this kind of newness and freshness. And I guess I had, it felt new to me. I didn't feel that I was trying to hold on to something that I had done before, because I forgot what I did before, And so there was a kind of a newness to it, and it felt pretty exciting. Last week I went on for Nick in the sort of the same situation, sort of at the last moment. And again, I hadn't done that role in front of somebody for 2 years really. And again, it was, you wonder kind of, will it turn out all right? Then it turned out all right. And as I say, there was I felt the kind of newness and freshness that, when you haven't done something for so long, obviously you'll have different thoughts about it when you redo it. So they were both very, very positive experiences.
What does it feel like to stand in front of a live audience again?
Joel, who plays Claude, our first night back, he addressed the audience, and I think what he said, I think, made a whole lot of sense. Well, I will quote him. It was really like renewing a conversation with the audience, that as a cast, we come back, we're all so glad to see each other. And then, as he said, the band comes in and they bring in Newfoundland, because of the sound. But what is needed is those audience members that are now a part of the conversation, because ultimately Come From Away is a conversation with the audience every night. The audience brings their own experience in with them, and we both share that evening together, and that's what it was like. And that it just felt so good to have those people in the seats, very enthusiastic too. So I think they totally got it, because they needed it too. We needed to perform for them, and they needed to hear it. So it was a great feeling.
What is your opinion that the main message of Come From Away And why does it resonate with so many people all over the world?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm just pleased that it does. Well, I mean, I think it has to do with kindness. Our author said, when there's trouble, look for the helpers. That Mr. Rogers had said that, the children's show host. When there are things that are a problem, look for the people who will help. And that's what happens in Come From Away. That it's a story about helpers, really, people who are in need of help and the people who help them. And I think we all, we need that. And they were really those people in Newfoundland. Well, you were there, they're just loving, giving, gentle, funny, kind people. And boy, sometimes as a human being, it's so great to have that. We see on social media and all that sort of stuff. And even in the news, there's a whole lot of negativity that's, I think, kind of permeates our lives, really. And to be able to come from away and that, no, our life is not all about this negativity. It's really about people can be very kind to each other and want to help one another. And I think hopefully that is what resonates with audiences all over the place.
What did you miss the most about Come From Away during the shutdown?
Well, it's your livelihood. It's the way you communicate. So that's what I do. I think that's what actors do. And you can't sit in your room and do soliloquies, because you need an audience and you need to, create with your breath air. And of course, the worst thing, of course, in a pandemic that is caused by people breathing on you is to be an actor, to you can't communicate. And also I think that people like a night out, and they like our show because it's certainly life affirming. So but of course with the pandemic, you didn't know what the end was going to be. We had all thought when we closed down, we were going to be back in a month, and then a month turned to 6 months. And then nobody really knew, when is this going to happen? When is it going to, it's easy to look back and say, oh yeah, well, inevitably we were going to come back 18 months later. Well, that wasn't, no one knew, especially they knew that our line of business would be the last business that would come back because of the very nature of what we do, speaking, moving air around, all that sort of stuff. So it was with a small f, fearful time, and it was a very dark time for if you love the theater and love making your living in the theater.
How did you find out about the reopening?
Our producers have been really wonderful, and they have kept us abreast of what's going on. So we had an inkling, and of course there was this live capture that we did over the summer. So that was just a little taste of of what was to come. And they're pretty bullish on wanting us to get back as soon as we could. So, but we have really wonderful producers, and they kept us abreast about what was going on. So that's how I knew.
Can you please tell me a little about the Come From Away movie that was filmed at Schoenfeld?
Mm-hmm. I was a part of it only in that because it was TV lighting, or it was film lighting, really. Those of us who are standbys, we ran the play so they could relight it. And it was good for them because since we know it, we could go from scene to scene and scene, and we stand there. There was no, we helped facilitate actually the film lighting of the piece. So we had long days, and while we were doing that, of course, the cast who was doing it were getting the musical back in their bodies and kind of making small adjustments for film, because we're not, you want to of course, the event, of course, is to do it in a 1,000 theater, but on film, there are some modulations in terms of performance. So they were working on that and getting the play back into their bodies. So we then came together and boom, they filmed it, and I think it's a great success.
Let's talk about the choreography.
Yes.
What was it like learning everything? Did you name the chairs?
Yeah, you have to know what number chairs. Yeah. You have to go to 5, you have to go to 4, have to go to 9, have to go to 12, have to go to. Well, I only memorized the chairs that I needed to memorize. For instance, I don't know what 7, 8, and 4 are, because I don't have to worry them. But yeah. So, but of course, they're all different colors. So you have to look at them and go, how can I look at that chair and think 4? The kind of mental tricks that you have to do with chairs. But yeah, the chairs are a big deal. Chairs are a big deal, and which way you move. You can't go to the right to move this chair because someone's going to be there. You can't go. You have to go to the left on a certain beat, and you have to wait for them to go through. And there's all that. I mean, that goes back to what it's like to stand by and not have those other bodies there when there's the moving of the chairs and things like that. So, but you finally get used to it, and the chairs become your friends after a while.
So who helps you during the rehearsals? Stage managers?
No, we have an assistant director, Danny Goldstein, and Rick Hines, who is also our assistant choreographer, and then Josh Breckenridge is our dance captain, and he's so we have 3 people who have their eyes on us to make sure we're on the right spot and blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so we usually have someone out there keeping an eye on what we do.
What was it like to meet the real people?
Well, it was especially Claude. My wife is an educator, and she's in charge of a lot of things in school, and she, the first thing she wanted to find out was, how could you get it all together, all the stuff that you had to do, and I think that was the thing, especially about Claude, that he was able to, with a lot of help, obviously. There was a whole lot of coordination that had to go into effect, at a moment's notice. All these things had to happen, and he was certainly one of those driving forces that did that. And of course, I met Nick and Diane, who are just delightful, and it's just wonderful to see them, because they're very much in love. You can just tell by when they hang out. And Oz is a very, very, very funny guy. Loads of fun. So those are the. I don't really know Beverly. I've seen Beverly Bass off somebody, but I don't cover her. So, but those are the ones that I have met, and I really appreciate who they are.
This month marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11. What does it feel like to perform in Comfortable Way right now?
Well, it was interesting. I didn't do it on the 20th, but on the 19th anniversary, I was actually on as Claude on the anniversary, and I remember, just going through it. But when I came to the line, and I wasn't expecting this, when I came to the line, we honor what was lost, and when that line came out, that was the first time that I go, oh my God, we really lost something that day. And because I'm a New Yorker, I was here during 9/11. And so just those lines that day, they always have a resonance, obviously, when you think about the play. But I actually had this visceral when I said those words, and it was unexpected when I said them, because I hadn't planned that. Obviously, I didn't plan anything. But when we honor what was lost, and that really sort of hit home for me when I was on 9/11. So,
as a New Yorker, How did you react when you first heard about musical about 9/11?
Well, I just don't think of it as a musical about 9/11. It's really about 9/12, and it's about. I guess it's a dicey. I mean, if you were to try to sell it as a musical about 9/11, people would sort of shudder. But I think if it's framed, that this is about the goodness of humanity coming out of this horrible, horrible day. But I didn't have any feeling about it at all. As I say, I did that reading, and I thought it was really sort of wonderful, because it didn't actually seem about 9/11. Yes, it did, obviously, but it really seemed about this interesting place that I'd never really heard of. These people that I thought, well, they're kind of interesting. I just got a buzz on my phone. I have to look, see if I'm on today, just to. Okay, I'm not. Well, okay. So there's an outside chance I'll be on today, but so far so good. Okay.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about, John?
I just feel privileged to be part of a musical that moves people, and I'm very proud of it. And my job, which is not always the greatest thing in the world, what I guess I like about it is that I can be punched in, and the music in the musical works, and it just goes on, and hopefully people won't think, oh, they missed out on the person who did it. All of the people I covered are absolutely wonderful, but even though it's a tough thing to do, I like the fact that I'm able to go, boom, yeah, sure, I got this, and we'll be fine. So I think that would be it.
What you do is truly remarkable, John. You save the day like a superhero.
Well, who knows? But it's good. It's good.
Thank you very much for making time for me.
You're very welcome.